Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, this is another in our Divi for Beginners videos, and we're going to show you how to password protect the page. But then we're going to get a little more advanced than beginner stuff. We'll actually show you how to change your password protective default login from this to something that looks a little more interesting to this. And to me, that looks a little more interesting. But of course, styling is completely up to you. So let's get started. I'm going to go down to my dashboard. Once at the dashboard, go down to your pages. This is where it'll take you. Let's do our blog right here. Roll over any page you want to password protect. Hit the little quick edit button. And if you look down, you'll find a little field where you can put a password. Put in whatever password you want. I'd recommend a lot stronger one than that if I was you. I'm going to put that in mine though. As you can see, it's right there. If you ever want to delete it or forget what it is, it's always right here. Get rid of it, just select it, hit your delete key. If you're happy with it, hit the update button. Now it says password protected right beside it. So you know which pages have got password protection on there. And like I say, if you ever need to edit that password or change it, you can go in there and do it quite easily in the quick edit right there. This is a great thing for protecting pages. I've created videos before now and sold courses, and then just send them the password to access the actual page itself. Okay, if we go back in there now and view the page, I'm going to middle wheel click so it opens in a new tab. It's now got that password there. Put in your password and hit the submit button. Okay, well, let's close that back out. Go back to my pages here. This is where things are going to get a little more advanced on you. But any code I write doesn't let that put you off. I'll put it down below the video. You can't break your site with CSS. If you don't like what you've done, simply delete it. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to go down to Appearance and Customize. I've actually got mine open over here. That's going to take you to this page. The reason I'm using this page, you can also do this down in Divi. In the theme options here, right at the bottom. You've got a custom CSS panel. It's the same exact thing as here. The reason I'm doing this here is so you can see exactly what's going on in real time. I've temporarily set a password protected page as my home page. You don't need to do that. Okay. When I write CSS, it's always a good idea. Give it a title. Title is / // In between, you can write whatever you want. It won't be read as code, so it's a great place for titles and notes and things like that. Makes stuff a lot easier to find. Give it the title that makes sense to you. Now let's get started. Now this is common to all WordPress themes. You'll have a customizer, or at least a majority of them do. I'm using Google Chrome here, so I can right click and I can inspect the contents here. And as you roll over things, with mine, I've got elements selected on this side, so it gives HTML. I've got styles selected on this side, so it gives us CSS on this side. So there's our form. And if we look up here, it's all under a little class name that I happen to know that's the class name for it, of post password required. So I'm going to copy that class name. If I just double click on it, it'll highlight it and put my cursor where I want to copy. Anytime there's a gap there, that's a different class name. If you watched our little for beginners CSS tutorial, you'll know that you can have multiple class names. So I'm going to copy that, Control C to copy. I'm going to go up where we were working right here. Let's go down a couple and make a few spaces there so we're up the top. It's a class name. All class names have to have a dot or a period in front of them. So I'm going to put a dot and then paste that class name in there. Now if we roll back down here, we've got a section, a PB section right here. And this is where you can change the background to a color or an image. I'll throw a color in there initially. Again, I'm going to double click. I'm going to grab that class name. Control C to copy. Again, I'm going to put a little gap after there. Its class name has to have a dot or a period in front of it. And then paste the class name. And once we've got that in there, we can open and close some curly brackets, separate them. We can tell it exactly what we want. So just for argument's sake, I'm going to say background blue. I'll show you how to change this into an image if you want to in a little while. Always put a little semicolon on the end there. Well, while we're in here, we can make this a better height. Because if I move this down the bottom, it's kind of, got all our content up here. I'd rather this took up most of the screen. You can have the footer in there if you want to. So while we're in here, let's give this a height. I'm going to give it, we'll try 100 VH for viewable height. That's going to make it 100% of the height of whatever screen you're looking at it on, whether it's an iPad, iPhone, or a desktop like this. If you want to make it shorter so that your footer can be seen, you can take it down in size till it works for you. I think I'm happy for it to be full screen. Great. Again, put a little semicolon in there. Don't forget, like I mentioned earlier, this is all down below. Copy it, change it out, make it your own. The reason my button is orange with a blue background, I forgot that I've given it a blue on hover, is that's the way I've got it set up in the theme customizer. And we can customize that any way we want. I'll do that in a moment. But also, I'd like my little password protected form to be down a little more central. It doesn't have to be exactly central. So I'm going to give it a bit of padding on the top. And again, I'm going to use viewable height for this. I'm going to say padding dash top. I'm going to say 30 VH for 30 viewable height. And that's popped it down there. And like I say, put in whatever value is going to work for you. And if you want to, you can check it on tablet and on mobile. Looks like we might need to give it a little padding left and right for those two. Let's do that. I'm going to say padding left. I'm going to give it, say, 50 pixels. And we'll do the same thing for the right. We'll just change that left to a right there. Now let's take a little look. That's better. That's helped us a lot. That's fine. I'll take just a little bit of that away. Let's try 25. So that on the phone, that button's very visible there. Fantastic. Okay, well, let's go back to our desktop version there. I think I want to change that text right there to make it a lot lighter in color. So if I bring back my inspector up here, and you actually right click on it again and inspect, it's an H1. It's got the class name password protected form right there. So let's copy that class name again. Class name, so we need to put a dot or a period in front of it. And we know it's an H1, so if I just put a gap and H1 on there, open and close some more curly brackets. Let's make it white in color. White, CSS3 is FFF. That's done that fantastically. And you can make it bold, you can italicize it, you can do whatever you want with it. Add text shadow if you want to. I'm happy with it to be just like that. And I actually want to do the same thing for that, which is P, paragraph text. It's right there. So an easy way to do this would be to put a comma in there and then put a P. And now we've actually got that white in color also. Great, well, what about this little entry? We bring this back up. Now we want to inspect that actual input area itself. As you can see, I'm rolling over it. And this is the input right here. But again, it's falling under the umbrella of our post protected required here. So I'm going to copy that one. I'm going to drop down, I'm going to put that in there. And we're the password protected form and the input right there, password protected form. Again, I'm going to copy this. Here it's a class name. We need a dot or a period in front. And we're dealing with the P input. So I'm going to write P and input. Now we can open and close some more curly brackets and tell it what we want. Well, I like it a little bit further down from that writing, so I'm going to give it a bit of margin on the top. Margin, dashed top, and perhaps 30 pixels. Yeah, that works for me. Obviously, put in whatever you need to put in for yours. If you want to put a border around there, let's say border, we'll make it the size we want. I'll make it 2 pixels so it's easy to see. I'm going to make it solid, and let's make it black in color so you can see it well. Well, nothing's happened there, so we need to force it by using the important, which is exclamation mark important. There, you can see it. We've had to override a style there. I don't like to use the important unless I have to, but in this case, looks like we had to. Obviously, make that whatever color you want. Now, a lot of our input fields on this site have been rounded, so if you want to give it rounded corners, it's border radius. Border dash radius. If we give it a high value, like 50 pixels, it'll be nice and pill-shaped. And again, we've got to overwrite the default styles. So let's use that again. We've now got a nice rounded one. If you want to, you can give it a box shadow on the bottom. Always helps to make things stand out. And that's just box shadow. And we'll give it maybe 1 pix left and right, 5 pix up and down, 10 pix spread. And let's make it a grey colour. 777 I think is a nice grey. And you can see that there if you want to darken it down. Use whatever colour you want. You can make it full black if you want to. That's a little overkill for me. I'm going to leave mine at 777 because I'm going to change that background colour into an image in a little while. Now with ours, we actually put these on the same line here, and that's entirely up to you. If you want to, I'd shrink that down a bit. So I'm going to say width, about 60% of what it is at the moment, 60 and a percent sign. And again, we're overriding the default styles. So I'll just paste that important back in there. As you can see, that shrunk down nicely. And if we add float left, it's popped the button up on the same line as it there. But of course that button is not exactly where we want it, so let's work on that. So I'm going to leave that input field just as it is, and let's work on this little button right here. Again, we're dealing with a post password required. I'll pop that in there, and we want the submit button. So just right click on it and inspect it. It'll take you straight to it. There it is. And it's got a class name of ET submit button. Again, I'm going to double click on that. I'm going to put my cursor at the end of it. Remember when there's a gap, that one over there is a different class name. This is the one I want. Scroll down to where we were. Again, class name, $p. Add that class name. We'll open and close some curly brackets. And now you can make that button anything you like. I'm happy with the curved borders there. I do want it to be a bit tighter over here. So let's say float left. And it's right up against our input form there. It's a bit better, but it's not exactly what I want there. I want to drag it down so it's more central there. So I'll give it a margin top. Try 20 pixels, that'll probably be too much. That is actually not too bad. If you want it, make it bigger or smaller, you can do that with padding. Let's try 15 pixels on the top and 20 pixels either side. And again, we'll have to override those styles there because that's, like I said, that's the styles in my theme customizer at the moment. Yeah, it's a little bit too much on the top. Let's try 10 pixels. That's about right. Obviously, adjust to taste. Looks like I'm a little bit too far down there. Let's take that maybe to 18. Great. Well, of course, I don't want it touching the actual bar. So we can separate that with a bit of margin left. Let's say 20 pixels maybe. Maybe not enough. Obviously, this is subjective. So make it exactly how you want it. Double that. That'll work for me. And if you wanted to add a box shadow or whatever you want to it, you can do that here also. Let's just copy that one from up there. And it's got that same box shadow on there. Okay, well, let's roll on down a bit. Of course, I'm not really happy with those colours. The blue's just getting lost in that blue background there. So let's use the dark blue of my little logo up there, perhaps. I've got a free Chrome color picker there. I think it's just a Chrome extension called Color Picker for anybody who wants to use it. I'm going to copy that hex code. And I'm going to say background. Hashtag in front of a hex code. Put that in there. Okay, that's made it that blue. That's easier to see for sure. When they hover over it, it's shrinking back to its regular size when they hover over it. That's fine. We can fix that. Perhaps I'll make it that lighter blue right there of the other logo. So to do that, I'm just going to copy both of these class names here. I'm going to drop down one right after the button there. No gap. I'm going to put a colon and no gap again and the word hover. And we can create a hover state for it. Open and close some curly brackets. Let's copy the things that we want. Padding looked like it was changing, so I'm going to keep that padding when they hover over it. There, it's not shrinking down anymore. I mean, you can have it scale up or down in size if you want to when they hover over it. That's entirely up to you. But the background, let's use that light blue. And we'll copy that. We'll say background. Put in that hex code. Great, that's a lot easier to see. Now, as I mentioned before, if you want to scale it up on hover, you see that quite a lot with buttons. Really easy, transform scale. Rounded brackets at the end. Inside, you can tell it how much you want it to scale up when we hover. I'll say 1.1, that will be 110%. 1 is 100%. Obviously, scale up whatever you want to do there. See if that's going to work. Yep, that's growing. Just to make it easy to see, if I do 1.5%, I'll make it half as big again, which will make it a lot bigger. 1.1 is going to work fine for me. Okay, if I get rid of that inspector now, I'm fairly happy with the way that's working. But I think I'd prefer to have an image in the background. And we've been using a crazy image for our blog post. So let's use that. So where it says background up here, we put in this blue color. Let's say background image. Then we can put URL, open some rounded brackets. And inside we can put the URL of the image we want to use. Now it's gone white in color because we just got rid of that background. Do that if we go back down to dashboard, pull up your media library, go to the image you want to put in the background. I think that's the one we used on our blog. Just click on it. It'll take you here. Here's the file URL. Little button underneath, copy URL to clipboard, or you can select it, copy, however you like to do that. We'll go back to our customizer now. And in between those little rounded brackets there, we'll paste that URL. And we've now got that image in the background there. And that seems to me a lot more interesting than that regular default little password protected, but it's entirely up to you. And don't forget, I'll put all this code down below the video. I'll get rid of that URL because that's not going to do you any good. You need to put your image URL in there. But everything else, just change the colors and the styles. If you don't like something, simply select it, get rid of it, but make it your own. Once you're happy with everything, make sure to hit your publish button. Now, if I go to this page and refresh, we've got a much more interesting little password protected page here. Like I say, style it to your needs there. And I can't remember the password I put in, so we know how to get the password. If we go back to the pages, it was the BG2 right there. Quick edit. There's the password right there. I should have been able to figure that out, I should think. But please use stronger passwords than that. I'm just doing mine for an example. Let's try that. And there we go. We've successfully got into this page. Like I say, password protected pages are great, especially for sensitive information on your site. And like I say, I've used them before for putting videos on there for courses and stuff. Then people pay for the course, you just send them the password to that page. So I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. Just to make sure this is going to work on all pages, let's go back to our pages here. Let's go to a different page. I guess I'll use that same again. Again, don't use simple passwords like this. Let's update. Make sure this is going to work. We'll visit that page. There it is. It's worked on that page as well. I'm not even going to log into that one. So I hope you've enjoyed this today, guys, and found it useful. I'm afraid it went on a little long there. All that code's down below the video for anybody who wants to copy it, paste it, change it, make it your own. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. Don't forget, if you have any questions, pop them below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you. We'll make a little demo video like this one. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and WebDesignDetectives.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.